My sister told me at our mother's funeral that she had the only copy of Mom's will, and that she was getting the house, the savings account, and the life insurance, and that I was getting nothing. She said it with a smile, in front of my children, while my mother was being lowered into the ground. 6 weeks later, in front of a judge, in front of her lawyer, in front of my sister's husband who'd been smirking the whole hearing, I pulled out one piece of paper my mother had given me 4 years before she died, and the smile finally left my sister's face. This is what happened next, and how I waited 4 years to do exactly what my mother asked me to do. My mom got sick when I was 34 and my sister was 31. She had a slow-moving cancer, the kind that gives you years of warning, and she spent those years getting her affairs in order. My mother was meticulous. She had been a paralegal for 27 years. She knew what could go wrong with an estate, and she planned for every single one of them. My sister and I were never close. She was always the favorite, and we both knew it. She lived in the same town as Mom. She married a man who worked in finance. She had 2 kids my mother adored. I lived 3 states away with my husband and our 2 boys. I called my mom every Sunday for 90 minutes and visited every other month. My sister called my mom maybe once a week and visited her 3 times a year, even though she lived 20 minutes down the road. When Mom got the diagnosis, my sister moved in. She said it was so Mom wouldn't have to be alone. She moved in with her husband and her kids. They lived in Mom's house rent-free for 4 years. My sister cooked for Mom maybe twice a week. The rest of the time, my mom cooked for them. In those 4 years, I came home as often as I could. Every visit, my sister was different. The first year she was helpful. The second year she was distant. The third year she was hostile. She told me, when Mom was upstairs asleep, that she was the one doing all the work and that she was going to be compensated for it. She used the word compensated. I told her that wasn't how a family worked, and she said, "We'll see." By the 4th year, my mother was tired. Not just from the cancer. She was tired of my sister. I could see it. She called me one Sunday, the way she always did, and she said, "Honey, I need you to come home next weekend. Alone. Just for 1 day. There's something I need to give you." I flew home that Friday night. I drove straight to her house. My sister was out shopping with her kids. My mom met me at the kitchen table with a manila envelope. Inside the envelope were 3 documents. The first was a notarized letter from my mother, dated and signed in front of 3 witnesses, stating that any will dated after that day was not valid unless it was countersigned by her attorney, a man named Henry Doyle who'd handled her estate for 20 years. The second was a copy of her actual will. The real one. The one that left the house and the savings to me, the life insurance split 50-50 between me and my sister, and a small annuity for my sister's 2 children. She'd written a long handwritten note explaining her reasoning. She said my sister had been taking money out of her accounts for 2 years. She said she'd been keeping the receipts. She said she didn't want a fight at the funeral, so she was telling me alone, and she wanted me to wait until the will was read before saying anything. The third document was a signed and notarized affidavit from Henry Doyle himself, confirming that he was the sole executor of my mother's estate and that any will presented without his signature was, in his words, a fabrication. My mother said to me at that kitchen table, "She's going to try something at the funeral." I know my own daughter. I love her, but I know her. When she does, you wait. You don't fight. You let her hand the judge whatever she's going to hand him. And then you give the judge this envelope. I asked my mom why she didn't just confront my sister now. She said, "Because if I confront her now, she'll find a way to manipulate me into changing the will before I die. And I don't have the strength to fight her in my own house. I've spent 4 years being soft so she'd stay calm. The fight isn't for me. It's for you. You make sure she doesn't get away with it." I took the envelope home. I told my husband about it. I put it in our safe. I didn't tell anyone else. Not even my own children. For 4 more years, I called my mom every Sunday. She never mentioned the envelope again. She didn't have to. She died on a Tuesday in March. The funeral was the following Saturday. At the funeral, my sister did exactly what my mother said she would do. She waited until the casket was being lowered. She came over to me in front of my kids, and she said, "I have Mom's will. I'm the executor. She left me the house, the savings, and the life insurance. There's a small amount for you and your kids, like $5,000 total. I'll send you the paperwork." She smiled. Her husband was standing behind her with his hands in his pockets, watching me the way you watch someone you've already beaten. I said, "Okay." That was it. I said okay. My husband held my hand. My sister waited for me to argue. I didn't. She walked away. Her husband kept watching me. I let them watch. Then I went home to my mom's house, sat in the kitchen where she'd given me the envelope, and I called Henry Doyle. Henry Doyle was at the door the next morning at 7 a.m. He'd flown in from Florida. He was 73 years old and he'd been waiting for this call for 4 years. He told me my mother had warned him too. He said, "Your mother was the best paralegal I ever worked with. She knew exactly what your sister was going to do. Let's go meet your sister." We didn't go meet her. We went to court. Henry filed an emergency motion to halt distribution of the estate. He attached the 3 documents from the envelope. He attached his own affidavit. He attached the receipts my mother had saved of every withdrawal my sister had made from her accounts over the previous 2 years, which totaled $41,000. The judge granted the motion within 4 hours. My sister got served at her job on Monday morning. The hearing was the following Friday. My sister's lawyer was a man she'd known since college. He showed up with a single document, dated 3 weeks before my mother died, purporting to be a new will. It left everything to my sister. It was signed by my mother and witnessed by my sister's husband and one of his coworkers. My sister sat in the front row of the courtroom with her arms crossed. Her husband sat next to her, smirking, the way he'd smirked at the funeral. They thought they were winning. Henry stood up. He introduced himself. He produced the notarized letter from 4 years earlier, the one stating that no will signed after that date was valid unless countersigned by him. He produced his own affidavit confirming he was the sole executor. He produced my mother's actual will, dated and witnessed correctly, leaving the estate to me. My sister's lawyer objected. He said the 4-year-old letter was overridden by the newer will. Henry smiled at him the way you smile at a child. He said, "Counselor, your client's purported will is not signed by me. Per the decedent's own express written instruction, dated, witnessed, and notarized 4 years before her death, that document is invalid on its face." The judge read the letter. He read the affidavit. He read the receipts of my sister's withdrawals. He looked at my sister. He looked at her husband. He said, "Ma'am, your mother knew what you were going to do. She prepared for it. Your purported will is not admissible." The smile left my sister's face. The judge ruled from the bench. He awarded the house, the savings, and 90% of the life insurance to me, citing the documented withdrawals as recovery against my sister's share. He referred the matter of the fabricated will to the district attorney for possible forgery charges. He referred my sister's husband and his co-worker, both of whom had witnessed the fake will, to the bar for possible witness fraud. My sister stood up and screamed in the middle of the courtroom. Her husband had to physically remove her. The judge banged the gavel 3 times and warned her that one more outburst would put her in custody. She left the courthouse without speaking to me. I haven't spoken to her since. Her husband filed for divorce 4 months later when the forgery investigation closed in on both of them. She moved back in with her father-in-law in another state. The house is mine. I'm renting it out to a young family who lost their own mother last year. The savings paid off my own mortgage and put both my boys through their first 2 years of college. The life insurance went into a trust for my mother's grandchildren, including, in keeping with my mother's wishes, the small annuity for my sister's 2 kids. They will get it when they turn 18. They don't speak to my sister anymore either. The envelope my mother gave me at her kitchen table, the one I kept in our safe for 4 years, is now framed in my hallway. I look at it every morning. My mother knew exactly what her daughter would do. She trusted me to wait. I waited. That's the only thing I did right in this whole story. I waited. And when my sister handed the judge her forged will, the only thing my mother ever asked me to do was hand the judge that envelope. I handed him the envelope.